Today's episode is about the power of possibility, expanding what you believe is available to you. This is a very hot topic for me right now because I am working on expanding my ability to receive money. Frankly, let's be honest, I'm going to say it. And I have a word of the year. I'm guessing you probably do too. Mine is wealth. This doesn't just mean money, though, as we probably know. And this is a whole other episode that I'm going to be doing on money because I've learned so much about it from my amazing wealth mentor, Susan Glusica. But for today, the reason why I want to bring this up is this idea of expanding what you believe is available to you, because a lot of people don't think certain things are available to us, such as things that have to do with money. But let's face it, for me, wealth is about impact. I want to make a lot of money so I can help a lot of people. And so I'm going to be giving you a few tips today, 5 specifically, to help you with this. And the first thing I want to ask you, just as an invitation, is what if the biggest thing holding you back right now isn't your skill, your experience, or your opportunity, but it's about what you believe is possible? There is so much that I continue to learn about what we believe and how that completely directs itself related to what we receive in life. And we have to believe, I think this is actually in my book as well, but this idea of, I should probably know that it's been a few years since I wrote it, but I tend to expect the best. I expect that great things are going to happen to me. When I open up my shades in the morning, I've learned the power of stacking habits. That's what James Clear calls it, the author of Atomic Habits. So you basically stack a new habit on top of one that you already have. So every morning I open my shades. And I started about a year ago saying, "Good morning, Jesus." And then some days I say, "I wait in great anticipation of what you're going to do for me today, God, or what you're going to do and how I can join you in that." On a good day, I say, what we can do together, as opposed to what can you do for me? What have you done for me lately? I'm also learning the power of surrender in my faith and in my business for sure. But I digress. What if you believed that more was possible for you? I'm going to guess some things would shift in your life, because most high achieving professionals are not limited by capacity. They're limited by invisible ceilings that we put on ourselves, subtle assumptions about what's realistic, appropriate, or within reach even. And those assumptions, notice, quietly shape how you speak, how you show up, and ultimately what you create. And today we're going to break that open. So let's remember that possibility is not just a mindset, it's a leadership advantage. This is truly a leadership advantage. And when you expand that belief, then you speak differently. Here's all the benefits. You speak differently. You decide faster. You stop negotiating against yourself, and others begin to see you at a higher level. So let's practice. Let's talk about how to access this through 5 tips. Number 1 tip: notice where you're automatically playing small. Automatically. Boy, if there is something that I have learned over the years, it is that our childhood and what we were taught totally shapes how we show up in life. I mean, I intellectually knew that. And believe me, I have been on a growth journey for many, many years, really diving deep into any way that I can become even better in elevating myself as a human. And this thing around possibility has definitely shown up a lot. And I thought I was really an expander, always thinking things are possible. It's amazing how much things I've realized still hold me back. So there's always opportunity. And here's the thing: most limitations don't sound dramatic. They sound reasonable, such as, "I don't want to ask for too much," or "that might be too expensive," or "I should probably wait." And these thoughts, first of all, they come across as responsible, but they actually quietly shrink your range. Let's say that again. They quietly shrink your range. That's a new statement, right? I mean, at least for me. So when I think about shifting your range, it is so interesting. So another scripture verse that I love is it's one that's kind of hidden in the Bible, frankly, and it is the prayer of Jabez. And it is all about expanding your territory. God, expand my territory. Bless me. and also ensure that I don't cause pain to other people. But that's the gist of the scripture verse. So it's this idea of, and here's a suggestion that I would make for you and those of you that are watching this on YouTube, even expanding your arms out, put them all the way out, put them all the way up, like you're in that power pose. There's something, even from a nervous system perspective, that tends to regulate us and make us even feel more confident and bigger when we do that. So remember, we want to make sure that we are expanding our range, not shrinking our range. And I just had a really, how should I put this? I'm trying to use more positive language. So rather than saying I had a very disappointing thing happen this week around a business deal, I will say I am celebrating that this business deal did not go through because it wasn't a value. They weren't valuing what I was actually going to be able to do for them. And so they really didn't have the budget for what I can do and could do for them to make a difference. And honestly, at first I thought, oh, I should just take it. It's still a great, it's still, as we often say, good money, but we have to remember what our value is. It was less than a third of the value of what I do. And I am so grateful that I didn't pursue that further. It feels liberating now. I'm still working on that, but the expansion feels differently even as I'm recording this. So thank you for being a witness to my journey. And so here's what I want to encourage you to start asking to help you with the shift. What would I do if I fully believed this was available to me? This expansion, whatever that might look like. This question, here's what it does. It interrupts the default thinking that we have, and it opens up a new lane. What would I do if I fully believed this was available to me? So tip number 1, just to recap, notice when you're automatically, or the default is playing small. Tip 2, speak from possibility, not permission. There's a subtle but powerful difference here. Asking for permission versus speaking from possibility. So let's talk about what permission sounds like. Would it be okay if, I'm not sure if this is realistic, but it's amazing how often we do this. So here's what possibility sounds like. Here's what I see as a powerful direction, or one option that would create real impact is. Notice how different those feel. They not only sound different, but energetically, I can even feel it in my body. It feels so different. So make sure that you are speaking from that possibility rather than that permission. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Well, first, no, why does this matter? Let's do that. People respond to certainty and vision. Certainty. I'm going to say that again. This is something I continue to work on. How can you be more certain in your conversations, in the rooms that you walk into? And this includes your body language. This includes a smile on your face. This includes something I call the handshake moment. I was at an event speaking this week, and it was so interesting. As I was talking, so there were about 20 people, and we were all in a beautiful back patio of a restaurant. And I was talking about the fact that we all create an experience. And it was so wonderful because everybody was invited into thinking about how they are coming across. And I said, I pointed to the door and I said, every single one of you walked in and created an experience for people that saw you today. And that's not something we think about very often. So you want to remember that people respond to that certainty. And when you speak from possibility, you elevate how others perceive you. You elevate how others perceive you. This is fascinating to me. It is so true. And I've seen this a lot in my life. I would have never thought to advertise myself as somebody who's positive and full of joy and has lots of energy. I just wouldn't have. But that is what people continue to say about me. It's fascinating. That's what people are connecting with. That's what continues to draw people towards me. But it's fascinating how that is not something that I would have hung up on a shingle and said, hey, pick me because of this. Now, obviously, I bring substance and practical strategies and tips that are relevant and valuable to people also, but I bring that with the attitude that I carry and how I hold myself. So it's been a really fascinating learning for me over the years, especially since I started my business in 2020. Tip number 3, expand before you strategize. This might feel counterintuitive because usually people try to be strategic too early. Well, what do I mean by that? Usually we ask the how first. Oh, how would I make this work? Is this even realistic? And as my coach Susan would tell you, that's your ego brain talking. So we've got to quiet the ego brain a little bit because strategy without possibility leads to small, safe decisions. We have this operating system that we have had since we were a kid. So it's hard to unlearn some of these beliefs that are so ingrained. But I can also tell you from experience that I have definitely done that and am continually a work in progress. But I want you to know that there's hope if you're wondering, can I ever make these changes? So here's how I would suggest you shift the order. Number 1, first ask, what do I actually want? Like one of my previous coaches said, what would you want if you weren't afraid to want it? So powerful. Then ask, here's the kicker, folks. I love this one. What would make this extraordinary? Again, as my coach says, how much pleasure can you handle? It sounds a little like risque, right? But it's so fascinating when you start thinking about it. And only then, after you've said, what do I actually want? What would make this extraordinary? Only then, how do I make it happen? Possibility first, strategy second. Tip number 4, surround yourself with expanded thinking. Your environment either expands you or it reinforces your limits. This is why, when I was a kid, my dad taught me how to play tennis. I will tell you, I hated him for it in the beginning because every day, all I wanted to do is watch Captain and Tennille at 6:30 p.m. at night. But Alexa, stop. So all I wanted to do is watch the show. But every day he would have me out hitting balls at 6:00 and I got really good at playing tennis. And one of the things that he taught me is that you always want to play with somebody that's a little bit better than you. It is the same to keep your craft good, to keep it better, because then you're just going to stagnate or stall. This is the same thing with the immediate circle that you're around. Are they expanding your level of thinking or are they constricting it or keeping it the same? You've got to be around people that move you through that expansive thinking and help you and support you to get to that next level. So if everyone around you is playing it safe, thinking incrementally, justifying constraints, it becomes your norm too. Upgrade your inputs, conversations that you have, rooms that you're in, people you learn from. This is also what I have learned so much from Dr. Yvonne Oswald. And she has the book called oh my goodness, I think it's The Power of Words, or The Words Are Your Power, something about the power of words, I believe it is. And the point is that I want to make here is think about the positive language. Instead of saying, I'm sick, say, I don't feel well. Because your brain hears the positive well, it hears well. Or you know how a lot of times you see things, I'm just thinking about in public places, like don't touch. All you want to do is touch. I think I touched on this literally during one of my other recent episodes. But we want to make sure that we are expanding the possibility through the language that we speak out loud as well. So if something didn't go well, then say, I'm really not happy about this, versus saying, I'm sad about this. Now, there is a time and a place to grieve. I definitely think that's important, but you want to be aware of the language that you're using so that you speak life over yourself. All right, let us move on to tip number 5. And this is our last tip. Act before you feel ready. This is so important. This is a huge part of what I learned as a kid. When I was 18 years old, I sold Mary Kay Cosmetics, and they taught us to fake it till you make it. And this is backed by clinical psychology and research, that we have to take action before we feel ready most of the time. You can't wait for perfect conditions, or you'll probably never take that action. So possibility, I want to remind you, doesn't feel comfortable. It often feels exposing. It feels uncertain. It feels slightly out of reach. But I want to tell you, that is the signal you're in the right place. Remember, truth. Confidence doesn't come before possibility. It comes after you act on it. That's where courage needs to come in. And I can help you with that, by the way. I only work with a few women in particular per year, and I have 3 teams typically that I work with per year, especially in the hospitality industry. But hey, let's have a conversation. If that's something, you never know. My wait list could open up and we can go from there. But ultimately, I want to remind you that the leaders who create extraordinary results aren't the ones necessarily more qualified. They're just less constrained by what they think is possible. Isn't that amazing? There's so much that we can do with our brains. We have so much choice and agency to do things differently. So here's your challenge this week. I would ask you to consider, where are you unknowingly playing smaller than you need to? And if you're not sure, ask people around you, get input. And just at the end of the day, take an inventory. You can maybe think about it as your part of your gratitude practice. What are 3 things you're grateful for? And where did I unknowingly play small that I need to? And then you can be grateful for that and do differently and better the next day. And here's a really fun thing to think about. What would change if you expanded that even slightly? Because the moment you shift what's possible, you shift everything that follows. And I'm telling you, this has been so true for me particularly in the last few months. So much more has been possible. I feel like my whole identity is shifting. I mean, not the whole thing, but I am believing for more. I feel more confident in all the things. This is real stuff, everybody. So if this resonated, share it with somebody. Do a review. That would be so meaningful to me. If you could take a moment, do a review, do a screenshot, send it to me, tag it to me on Instagram. It would be so appreciated, because mostly I'm on this mission to silence self-doubt in 10 million women in 10 years. And we're about 5 million reached right now, by the way. And I just hired the event planner for my big event that's happening at the Chase Center stage in San Francisco in the year 2030. Believe it or not, we're already starting planning. So I want you to be there. And I want to have more and more women be there so we can truly, truly change the world, one of our lives at a time, one moment of our lives at a time. So I look forward to more conversations, and let's do a quick recap so that we're all on the same page here. Tip number 1, notice where you're automatically playing small. Just said that. Number 2, speak from possibility, not permission. 3, expand before you strategize. 4, surround yourself with expanded thinking. And I would even go so far as to say expanded thinkers to help you think bigger. And tip number 5, act before you feel ready. This is so important. So I want to challenge you in the next week to pick one thing that you're going to do before you feel ready. Try it, see how it goes, and please let me know. I would love to hear from you. Remember, you can always email me, Karen@KarenLaos.com, and I would love to hear. And remember, if you like this, not just review, but please consider making an introduction. If you know somebody that chooses speakers for their conferences, their offsites, I would love to have an introduction, particularly if you know somebody in the hospitality industry. And within that, if you know somebody within the luxury hospitality industry, that is where my focus is. So wonderful to spend time with you as always, and have a wonderful rest of your day. If you loved today's episode, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps other people find the podcast faster, and it certainly helps me. Remember, you too can stand out with unshakable confidence.